Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time. Now, when you hear the art of war, what probably comes to mind are these epic scenes of clashing armies, right? But what's so wild about this ancient text is that it argues the greatest victory is one that requires no battle at all. It's about a totally different kind of power, an invisible force that shapes conditions so perfectly that your success is basically guaranteed before the fight even begins. So, what does that actually mean in practice? Well, Sun Tzu's work isn't really a how-to for fighting. It's more like a blueprint for a whole system of strategy. The big idea here is that victory isn't won with brute force on some battlefield. It's actually achieved by subtly shaping the entire environment, the terrain, the enemy's psychology, their very perception of what's real, until your success just becomes inevitable. The real power is in making your opponent lose before they even realize the game has started. And this brings us to what is, honestly, the most radical idea in the entire book. The highest form of victory is winning without ever having to fight. It's a complete shift in focus, away from the clash of swords and toward the quiet art of strategic positioning. Okay, so let's break down this difference, because it's absolutely crucial. Conventional war is pretty straightforward, right? You're applying direct force. You're pitting your strength against their strength and hoping you come out on top. But this strategic ideal, it's the complete opposite. It's all about manipulating the environment so that applying force isn't even necessary. The goal isn't just to win the fight, it's to make the fight unwinnable for your opponent from the very beginning. And this really gets to the heart of it all. Strategy is the art of positioning. The outcome of a conflict isn't decided during the battle. Nope, it's decided through all the careful preparation that happens long before. It's about creating such an overwhelming advantage that the enemy really has no choice but to defeat themselves. So that sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you shape an entire environment to your will? Well, Sun Tzu and Sun Pin give us this incredibly powerful toolkit. Let's dig into 4 of the core components that make this kind of strategic positioning possible. First up, you've got this awesome interplay between the orthodox and the unorthodox. Think of the orthodox as your conventional move. It's what the enemy expects you to do. You use it to get their attention, to fix them in place. Then, while they're totally focused on that, you hit them with the unorthodox, the surprising, the creative tactic to strike where they're vulnerable and actually secure the victory. It's like a magician's misdirection. Now, that pairs perfectly with the second tool, deception. This is basically the art of information warfare. It's all about controlling your opponent's perception of reality. You make them see weakness where you are strong and strength where you are weak. By creating all these feints and illusions, you guide them into making huge mistakes. You're essentially fighting the war inside their mind. But here's the thing. Even the best plan or deception is useless if you can't react. And that's where the third tool comes in, adaptation. A strategist has to be formless, like water. Why? Because being rigid is fatal. If you're predictable, you're easy to defeat. You have to constantly change your tactics based on the real conditions on the ground and what the enemy is doing. This kind of flexibility makes it impossible for them to pin you down. And finally, all of these tools, the orthodox moves, the deception, the constant adaptation, they all serve one ultimate purpose: psychological dominance. The real target here isn't the enemy's army, it's their will to fight. You attack their plans, you disrupt their alliances, you break their morale. If you can make them believe they've already lost, the physical battle is pretty much just a formality. Now, I know these 4 tools can seem a little abstract, but there's this one powerful metaphor that just pulls it all together and makes the entire system click. And it's the idea of being like water, not like a rock. Be like water. It's a Taoist principle that runs through all of this strategic thinking. There's a line that says, the softest things in the world can overcome the hardest. And water is the perfect example of this. It seems so soft, so yielding, but in the end, it can overcome any obstacle. And this just brilliantly illustrates the strategic ideal. First, think about it. Water doesn't crash head-on against a mountain. It flows around it, always finding the path of least resistance. It avoids strength and strikes weakness. Second, it has no fixed shape, right? It adapts to whatever container it's in, just like a strategist adapts to the terrain. And third, its incredible power comes from its focused, relentless pressure over time. A small, concentrated stream of water can carve right through solid rock. So, how does all of this apply to us today? I mean, these are ancient ideas about warfare, but the principles for understanding competition are absolutely timeless. They are just as relevant in a modern boardroom or even in your own career as they were on an ancient battlefield. So when you start thinking this way, what's the big shift?
how does this strategic mindset actually change the way you look at the world?
It teaches us that conflict isn't just a series of isolated events or battles to be won or lost. It's a continuous, dynamic environment. The ultimate goal isn't just to win one victory, but to understand and master the entire system, to shape that environment in your favor so that good outcomes become the natural result.
Which brings us right back around to that central, incredible idea. True mastery isn't about being the best fighter. It's about being such a brilliant strategist that you never have to fight at all.
Our explainer here is based on The Complete Art of War, which includes the work of both Sun Tzu and his descendant, Sun Pin, and it was translated by Ralph D. Sawyer. If these ideas resonate with you, we highly, highly recommend picking up this version or checking it out from your local library to really dive deeper. For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy systems-level analysis like this, please subscribe and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.